Just since we last spoke with you a few minutes ago, riot-equipped Chicago police marched over this street and have begun making where the breach occurred, and we are going to show you where it happened. About 45 minutes ago, you can see the fence line breached here. You can see the blue-helmeted Chicago police riot team that has moved in and began pulling protesters off of the fence line inside the perimeter, and they began arresting one by one people who had breached this fence line a little while ago. A couple of people were thrown to the ground, handcuffed, and they are being taken away by Chicago police. This unit now has cordoned off the area that was breached to prevent additional people from getting through. Even though this is not directly adjacent to the United Center, it is one layer of perimeter security, this heavy iron fencing that has been constructed to attempt to keep protesters and the United Center front doors as separate as possible. This began with a well-organized and permanent protest in Union Park earlier this afternoon. There were several thousand people marched peacefully on the streets around Union Park, and then as that wound down, some people, it would appear, ended up at this location and breached the fence line, and that's when things started to go south. At least a couple of people arrested here as Chicago police quickly scrambled this civil disobedience team. Initially, when we arrived, we saw Capitol Police here as well, already wearing gas masks. It would not be unusual in a case like this for CPD to call out their so-called gas teams that they would use in the case of most serious civil disobedience, where they needed to fire off rounds of tear gas in order to move large crowds of people. They've not done that here. It doesn't appear that they will need that, at least the way things look right now. But clearly CPD is wrestling now to get this scene back under control. And of course, as the blue helmets and the face shields with these police officers arrive, that riled up this crowd even more.
As you continue to take a look at what's happening at the scene behind you, do you get a sense that more people are joining this from behind? Because this isn't too far away from where those protesters, as you say, were marching in the area that they had a permit to march in, which was that essentially mile-long rectangle north of the arena. Just judging by the pictures from just a few moments ago.
There were several thousand, yes. There were several thousand people that were in that organized protest. It was peaceful. It did not appear as though that there would be any need for arrest during that. You didn't even see riot police there. There was no riot gear in sight that CPD had. However, as we know from previous incidents such as this over the last 5 or 6 years, the riot-equipped police officers are not far behind. They are in vans in the neighborhoods, and that's exactly what happened here. As soon as this started playing out, as soon as there was a report of a fence line breach to the north of the United Center, those teams began suiting up, and they marched down the street roughly 8 or 9 minutes ago.
So, Chuck, they were saying that an estimated 10,000 plus people were going to be part of this because they had different issues that they were protesting. What can you tell us about, and how did they actually breach this perimeter? How did it happen? It appears
well, the fences are temporary, Cheryl. In fact, if you look right over here, right through there, Derek, you can see that the police are attempting to reattach the fence. They kind of are pieces of, 8 by 12 iron fencing, and they put them up one by one, and they fit together and they lock in, and that's it. And when the protesters arrived here today, they just began disassembling the fence.
Remarkable to see, actually, as we look right now, your fabulous photographer is getting shots of riot gear police, riot helmeted police actually reinstalling the fencing. So, Chuck, we will check back with you in moments from now. But for now, we're going to try to carry on with our conversation and our coverage of what's happening at the...
Ladies and gentlemen, this incident has happened earlier today. For those of you that don't know what happened, or you crawling under a rock or whatnot, this week is the DNC convention in Chicago. Now, among tens of thousands of protesters expected to show up, which they did, And of course, as you can see, there, Chicago police was in full riot gear. One of them had already breached the gate that was supposed to go through near the United Center, which is supposed where the DNC convention would be held. And there's a lot of people expected to be there. What if it's pro-Palestinian protesters? What if it's, reparation protesters? Everybody is expected to be in that protest all together. Now this is, I think 3 days ago, the Chicago mayor has ordered the national, this is how bad this is, that the Chicago mayor had ordered the National Guard to patrol the city of Chicago. This reminds you, and I know some of us hasn't even born, myself included, but this situation reminds you in 1968, when the DNC convention happened, the last time they were there. That was decades ago. But during that time, in 1968, the Chicago police wasn't even prepared because they had to deal with the anti-war protesters at that time. This time, you're dealing with not only with the pro-Palestinian protesters, you're dealing with, basically blacks for Trump. You're dealing with all these sections of protesters. That's been tens of thousands, or reportedly, that's been allegedly 100,000 people showed up, allegedly. And this is the first day of the DNC convention. So you keep in mind there's going to be more protesters all this week, and this is just the beginning. So let me know what you think about this. It shows you that, as I say, history is repeating itself, even though this is a different, issue. But here, history is repeating itself because this is a DNC convention in Chicago, and this time this is not anti-war protesters, which is the anti-Vietnam War protesters. These are pro-Palestinian protesters. These are, people that, fighting for reparations. These are a mixture of protesters that's in Chicago today. Let me know what you think about this in the comments.